That's kind of how XRecruiter was born. We basically just thought this would be an awesome business model where you would help other people in our industry achieve something that otherwise they wouldn't have thought they could have achieved. And there's a lot of talented recruiters out there. Like, recruiters are generally entrepreneurial by nature. They're proactive. They've got big personalities. They've got determination, thick skin, all the traits of a business owner, essentially.
Hey legends, Damien here, the creator and founder of Apex Unleashed. Really looking forward to you today, to seeing today's episode, and hopefully for you, it's the gateway for you finding out a little bit about yourself and how you can help you move forward with your goals, hopes and dreams.
Hey everybody, it's Damien Piotr here from Apex Unleashed. I'm really glad to be speaking to, I would say a cutting edge professional in the recruiting industry. So Blake Thompson, mate, how are you?
Awesome, Damien. How are you?
I'm so happy I'm really excited to talk to you about XRecruiter because, like a lot of things in business, I'm looking in a feed and something catches my eye. Right? It's so interesting is that this is how we now communicate with people, and we reach out and we DM and then we get on these conversations, and it's just like, it's amazing how introductions can be made over the internet. Hey?
Yeah, 100%. It's an interesting time where you've basically got to put yourself out there and wait for the response. Like, you don't know who you're talking to until you connect with someone that you didn't know existed, and then they come back to you, and all of a sudden you've made a new friend and a new connection and a new opportunity.
I love that. And, one of the things about Apex Unleashed that anyone that listens to it knows about straight away, it's a birth of something where it's just when there's an opportunity that's created and something new comes to light. I just will never get old hearing about the birth of something new that someone's passionate about. So just tell me about XRecruiter. Where did it come from? And you and your business partner, Declan, I'm sure there was so much nervous energy when you first started, but surely it's so exciting right now.
Yeah, so it is really, really exciting. We feel like we're on the edge of greatness. We're not there yet, but we're working towards it. The XRecruiter concept was born probably a couple of years ago when I was running my own recruitment agency. Declan was running his own recruitment agency. COVID happened, and it kind of brought us together as, like, we've known each other for a long time, but we stopped speaking so much when we started running our own businesses. COVID happened, and it kind of drew some sort of mutual connection of like, hey, how are you going, mate? Like, a lot of people started reaching out and talking to other people to see how they were doing. And Declan reached out and we started sharing some stories, and we realized we were on the exact same experience and journey of each other, but we just weren't speaking to each other about it and learning from each other's ways of dealing with clients or candidates or whatever it might have been. Then we started having a chat about how hard it was starting our own agency, and how many times we got ripped off and scammed and taken for a ride and misunderstood, like weird things that people say that you think is one thing, but it's really another. And we basically just came to the conclusion, like, geez, how good would it be if someone was there to support you and guide you through all these blind spots and pitfalls that you don't realize exist until you fall into them, and then you've got to figure out how to get out of them. And so that's kind of how XRecruiter was born. We basically just thought this would be an awesome business model where you would help other people in our industry achieve something that otherwise they wouldn't have thought they could have achieved. And there's a lot of talented recruiters out there. Like, recruiters are generally entrepreneurial by nature. They're proactive. They've got big personalities. They've got determination, thick skin, all the traits of a business owner, essentially. And so we thought we can just take that one step further and then help them start their own agency. So we wrote out a bit of a wish list about absolutely everything we could possibly think of that was a roadblock for when we started our own agency. And then we just worked backwards and said, let's deliver on that, this, that, and then just created a wish list to make sure there is absolutely zero kind of barrier to entry for a high-performing recruiter to start their own agency. So the only reason now, with XRecruiter existing, why someone wouldn't start their own agency would be one, they love their boss and they get heaps of value out of their colleagues. That's a really good reason to stay where you are. If you can get more experience and advice and value and mentoring out of your colleagues, that's a special thing. So I can understand if someone wouldn't want to go out on their own if they get that. Or two, they're just kind of, they're scared, or they live above their means and they can't afford to take a step backwards financially for 2-3 weeks because they are up to their eyeballs in loans, and they're probably not living a great lifestyle and managing their finances and managing their health or their relationships, and they're probably living a chaotic life. But they're the only two reasons now that I can think of that why someone wouldn't start their own thing. And we've had some awesome feedback. A lot of people are just like, wow, how hasn't someone done this before? So anyone we've spoken to about it, it's made sense. It was exciting, and everyone seems pretty receptive. So it's awesome.
I love that. And I always have a quote and a theme for these sessions because I don't want to waste any time, is that being mediocre is a competitive landscape in 2022. And I say that with all sincerity to people that are very sensitive and get offended by these things, is that people are living such a mediocre existence, like you spoke about, is that 2 or 3 weeks puts them to the wall. They're not focusing on their health. They're not looking after and spending time with family. Like you as a business owner running multiple businesses, you ultimately know that the time you have away from your business is the most important thing you do. Now, the scariest place at the moment to be in is being in that mediocrity. And for people that bet on themselves like you, it must feel nice to be a trendsetter in an industry that's largely unregulated, that is basically up to people to sort of pick their own terms and take things from there. But ultimately, understanding that this is a people business and that these people are going to change their minds and opinions all the time. So how do you recognize within yourself that balance between working around the clock and looking after yourself as an individual?
That's a really good point that you bring up, and a good couple of comments there. When I interview recruiters for my business, one big point that I make is being successful comes in 2 equal parts of doing the task at hand and having your house in order. And so you could have all the talent in the world and have chaotic lifestyle, bad habits, toxic relationships, and your talent goes nowhere. It can't be applied. So you could, you could have your house in order and have everything perfect, but if you've got no talent, then again, you go nowhere. So you need equal parts talent, hard work, and you need equal parts a good, healthy lifestyle to be able to take you to the next level. And I've hired so many really talented people where you just sit there and they're personable, they're awesome to talk to, they've got great aspirations, but unfortunately their personal life is just, it's just messy, unorganized, and they can never find themselves to be able to really apply their personality and make something special of it. And I was kind of like that. I always felt like I was someone special, to be frank. And I thought, you know what, I've got so much to give and I'm getting nowhere, and I'm 22 and I'm earning this much money, and I feel like I'm smarter and more talented than everyone else. And it wasn't until someone said to me, Blake, hard work beats talent all day. So you're going to find so many people that are more talented, that are less talented than you, that are way more successful because they simply work hard and they keep their house in order. And that kind of set in with me. And it's something that I try and strive for, to make sure that my house is tidy, my bed's made, I'm looking after myself, because if that's not in order, it's really hard to be the best version of yourself at work.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that I guess the biggest sale you ever make to yourself is yourself, right? So betting on yourself is ultimately a decision and a choice. So you made a decision and a choice to bet on yourself. For people that are out there that are questioning, do I bet on myself? I have a really distinct answer, but betting on yourself, how does that make you feel?
Betting on myself, how does that make me feel? I think I feel a bit of gratitude. A lot of people might not have the confidence or might be a bit fearful to bet on themselves. Maybe, I don't know, it's part luck, part upbringing. I've had a pretty good family and they've always looked after me and encouraged me just to, go stuff it. Let's just see what happens and give it a go. So, betting on yourself is a pretty powerful powerful thing. And I'm not sure if it's something that's ingrained to you from when you grow up, or it's a decision that is like a light bulb moment, or it's something that you kind of manifest over time when you get more eager and disciplined to want to execute on your dreams. But yeah, it's a good feeling. Probably a bit of gratitude is what I would feel to bet on yourself.
Do like that. I have a very deep affinity to that daily gratitude. Is that when you think about 3 things every day to be positive about, it's so easy not to do because it's so easy to do. And betting on yourself to me is exactly the same. Is that, like, why wouldn't you make that choice to bet on yourself? Because ultimately you're the only person, when you talk about having your house in order and getting the most out of yourself, you're the only one who really knows what you got out of yourself. And this is why external, when you talk about congratulations and awards and people patting you on the back and saying job well done. And this is why there's a lot of successful people unhappy, right? Because they're getting the external validation, but the internal stuff just isn't there. So when you bet on yourself, you start an internal drive, and they're little micro commitments. Cool, I did well today.
Love that.
I'm doing really well with these little things. Now you get to a point where those little micro commitments, you give them to multiple people across multiple platforms. So it's really good of that extension, is that ultimately as people, we just want to be able to help other people become a better version of themselves. In the process now, we live in a world where we're trying to make everything scalable. Yeah. So for you, scalability can mean different things, but to me, it's the environment piece, right? So if I can scale my environment and be around better people in rooms where people not just know more than me and have knowledge, I also got to bring something to the table, but I'm scaling my knowledge, my network, and ultimately the relationship I have with myself. Because as you know, when you go into a room and you don't know too many people, again, that bet you make on yourself is like, I'm going to back myself in that I'm going to meet people, interact with them, and it's going to be a positive experience. Like, can you see the value that people place on themselves by just simply having that conversation now? Because we live in a world where we hide behind computer screens. You must be so happy when people reach out to you and talk to you, that scalability is about all those little micro commitments they've made to themselves. So by the time they get to you, they're already in a position to make a decision. It must be very, like you say, gratifying, but it must be a nice place to be in with all that hard work you've done in the past.
Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's interesting that you put it that way, because sometimes it's not how I see things. Sometimes I've got like the blinkers on, and things are white noise to me, and I might just have a random conversation with somebody that passing off as a random 20-30 minute conversation, and then all of a sudden a week later they're like, you really opened my eyes up. I'm loving the energy and how you're doing things and how you operate. It's really, it's getting me excited to execute on what I've been wanting to do as well. And so it's interesting, talking to people, and I think it's really nice, to be honest, to be able to help people and show them that, maybe the one thing that they had reservations or doubts with on themselves is really nothing to be worried about at all. And it just probably takes a conversation or a video online or whatever it is that they watch, and it clicks for them just to go, you know what, all right, let's do this. And I'm finding that a lot with a lot of people that are reaching out that I never even knew existed. They'll message me and they'll be like, hey Blake, I've been watching your journey over the last 5 years, mate. I would love to be where you're at. And I'm sitting here thinking, would you? How have you seen me over the last 5 years? And it's like news to me. And so every day, as long as you're just turning up and you're just giving 110% of yourself to others with no expectation in return, because you just enjoy it, it's really crazy the compound effect that happens when opportunity comes back to you. And I find the people that are always trying to get something for a direct result for their energy are the people that always fall short with compounding real equity in their social circle. So if they're constantly trying to, pick up pennies and trying to get everything out of every conversation, and they're not really just wanting to give value and seeing what happens back in return, they're the ones that get frustrated and annoyed and spiteful and all that kind of stuff. And the people that are just like, love talking about and helping people get to where they want to go are always the ones that tend to do exceptionally well, because people generally feel like they want to help in return. So you get that with like really successful people. it wasn't until I started my own business, I reached out to a lot of different business owners, and I was just some kid. I was like 24, started my own agency, and I had a year's recruitment experience. Like I had literally no idea what I was doing, but I just thought, you know what, let's have a crack and see how this goes. And it's obviously turned into something really nice and great. But I reached out to heaps of business owners, like multi-millionaires, like agency owners that have 300 recruiters, and I just sent them an email, hey, I've started my own business, I'd love to catch up with you for some advice. And it's always the really successful people that love giving their time and love helping out others. So that's the one thing that I could, if anyone is watching and they're like doubtful and they're looking for help and support, it's people overwhelmingly want to help other people. People like feeling useful, they like feeling helpful, and people don't sit around charging for their time and going, oh, this guy's, trying to reach out to me and trying to find out all my secrets. Generally, the successful people love giving advice and love helping out the underdog and supporting people in their journey. So yeah, just reaching out and talking to people is an awesome first step. And you'd be surprised how much people want to help you when you do that.
I do really resonate with that message, is that the people with influence at some point ask someone first for help. So it is that real big language about, giving back. And, I just recently did a podcast about the law of attraction, and we talked about energy and vibrations, right? Is that everything in your room and my room is just energy, right? And people sort of be like, well, what does that mean? And if you talked to me about that a few years ago, I'd just be like, what are they talking about? But there's energy in a conversation, and there's energy in a room, and there's energy in a person. And if you're speaking to someone, like you've gone to a leader and gone, you're someone that I'd just love to talk to, because I can see from what you're doing from that digital interview that you've got something to share if you've got the time. And people will make an assessment on you based on, whether it's something you're doing online or the impression you give or how you actually interact with a person. And like, is that every relationship with a client starts with an introduction and a first impression. Now, whether it's recruitment or any other business, you must really understand the importance of that first impression. So tell me a story where your first impression didn't go to plan, but you still pulled it off. Because ultimately, we're not always here to hear about the good news stories. We want to hear about the resilience piece. We want to know about, this is where I think I mucked it up, but I sort of saved it for myself, and I learned something along the way. Because the lessons you learn, God, they teach you something.
Oh man. So let me just recap my understanding of that question. When was a time that I approached somebody or reached out to somebody and gave a terrible first impression and had to tuck them back in and try and overcome that?
Yeah, definitely. It's like the ultimate sale is that when you get off on the wrong foot, it's really hard to make your way back. Because
I do that every day. I'm just trying to think of the worst one. Like almost every day I could have said something better or approached something more professionally, more polite, more empathetic.
Sorry, my point is that mistakes are part of the process, right? It really is. The amount of mistakes that you feel you make and the lessons you learn that set you apart, whether it's a competitor in life, is that you're still willing, after the mistakes have been made in your position, that you'll just continue to keep going, to be, I know that I've learned from this, and that even though I might make that mistake again, it's probably to a lesser extent because I've learned the value of that interaction.
The faster you make your mistakes, the quicker you will succeed. So if you just rip in, make a mistake, obviously, as long as you're learning from it and you're trying to adjust every time you make a mistake, the faster you make your mistakes, the quicker you will achieve success. It's that simple. Like, you're never going to achieve success if you're worried about making a mistake. So if you can just constantly just keep having a crack and find out 100 ways to not do something, and then, the 101 way is you found out how to do it. If you can make those 100 mistakes in your first year of business, then you're off and running. I mean, year 2 is going to be a screamer. So even in life in general, I'm always one for trial and error, and I'll say something or do something that I will have absolutely no idea how it's going to land. And sometimes I'll get a seething email or response back, and I'll go, oh, okay. Yeah, okay. Now that I think about it, that probably wasn't the right way to approach this, but you can never be afraid of mistakes as long as you have solid values and principles that you've got the right intentions. Making mistakes is okay. And usually people are going to be okay with you making mistakes. And it could be a good icebreaker.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, hey, remember that time that I called you and said this? Geez, I'm not going to my mouth that day.
Yeah.
And it is true. The message that I always really like to relay to people is that it's the people that continue to take action, the ones that you actually want to pay attention to and you want to align yourself with, because they're the people not only with the stories, but they're also got the runs on the board. Now, you talked about your online learning and training system, and there's certain ways digitally that you can have an online learning management system and do those things. And obviously outsourcing and managing your time is super important in every role. As a leader in a business and as someone who wants to help people in business, what do you think something that can't be learned through a video and online that you and your business partner as individuals have a sort of that unique selling feature this is why, we're valuable? What is it for you guys? What do you guys bring to the table that's different that people can't see on a video?
Well, with XRecruiter, and starting your own business, there's no like cookie cutter way of doing things. Like absolutely every situation is unique, and it just takes creativity and rational, logical thinking to always overcome whatever hurdle comes at you. So in particular with XRecruiter, it's having someone there that has probably fallen more times than you can even count, and having someone go, oh yeah, no, I made that mistake 5 years ago, you don't want to do that. Or if you make a mistake, having someone else there to go, oh geez, that's really bad, here's a way to overcome it, let's try this. So I guess in the instance of XRecruiter and partnering with someone that is also genuinely interested in seeing you succeed. And I know there's this whole, it's like a company kind of fluffy term where it's like, your success is our success. There's like this really cheesy line in business where that gets thrown around a lot. And generally it's like a business motto, and it's not genuine between person to person. It's just like this, fluffy one-liner that a company likes to say to sound good. With your success is our success. Like I genuinely get a really big kick out of seeing someone's light bulb turn on and apply themselves. Like it's really fun watching someone being on the edge of achieving the goals that they've always wanted to achieve. Like I don't even need to achieve them. I just watch someone else achieve them and I get real pumped up. I'm like, oh my God, good work. Keep it going kind of thing. So with XRecruiter, regardless of the commercial side of things of, being an actual business for profit, ultimately is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's stemming from ultimately wanting just to help other people one-on-one. It's not like a general this is how it happens and off you go kind of thing. It's a one-on-one. Where are you at in life? Where are you at in your journey? And how do we take you to the next step is ultimately what XRecruiter is.
I do love that, is that mentorship and advisory position, is that there are far too many people that want to be in that advisory role and mentoring role, but they haven't actually, when we talk about being in the tasks, it's just like, I read it somewhere, I did it for a little bit, now I feel I can teach others. And no doubt you're still actively, working in the industry with your own clients, learning every day. Like the lessons never end. And it's such a powerful message that you have and your business has, is that it really is about, we can support you and you can have the biggest vision in the world. But when it comes down to, is that if I come across a stumbling block or something's happening, at least I've got somewhere to go to, we can bounce off ideas, because guaranteed in this universe, there isn't a problem that you have that someone else hasn't dealt with. Mm. So that's the power of a network, isn't it, man?
100%. Yeah. And I think when people realize other people are out there to help you and support you, it becomes very uplifting and liberating and exciting to be like, hey, this is what I'm doing today. who else has felt this? And then all of a sudden, someone helps you out, and then someone does the same thing, and you've got the solution, and then you're excited because you can add value to that community and go, oh, hey, I've had an issue with this the other day. This is how you overcome it. And then all of a sudden, the power of a community that it all looks after each other is far greater than you trying to do business on your own, or be a recruiter on your own, or whatever it might be. So I think the power of a community is undervalued in most businesses, where if most businesses try to create a community, their clients together, or their suppliers together, or bring in everybody in one kind of area where there's a common goal, I think you could probably get a whole lot more out of your clients, your suppliers, your candidates, your whatever industry that you're in. If there's a way you can create a community, you can 10x your value and go so much further than just doing things on your own.
Yeah, it's true. And I guess sometimes it all starts with a holy shit goal, is that, the next 12 months that you probably have a bit of a vision of like how many businesses you want on board, because obviously you've been going for a little while. Do you want to share about the ambition and put it out into the universe about what it looks like in the next 12 months?
Yeah, so XRecruiter launched 3 weeks ago, roughly 4 weeks ago, potentially, to the market. We actually started XRecruiter 2 years ago. It took us 2 years. We can't promote XRecruiter unless our own agencies are operating under XRecruiter. So we spent a year and a half walking the walk and going, no, we've got to do this ourselves, because it's super hypocritical if we start this business to say, hey, we'll help you run your agency and start your agency, when we haven't put our own business through the process as well. So the new branding for Vendito, the branding for Blended, and the other agencies that it supports right now is all through XRecruiter. So I think we've done an awesome job, if I must say so myself. Now that we've launched, we've ironed out all the bugs and the issues that we've had with suppliers and resources, and our own learning because we're our own clients now. So who better to get advice on from someone who's on both sides of the fence with the person that's trying to look after you. So, we've got a division that, we'd ideally want 50 to 100 agencies, whether they be independent contractors ultimately that run their own agency and they work for themselves, or they're micro agencies that might have 2 or 3 people working for the agency. But, over the next 12 months, 50 people starting their own business would be an awesome thing to have, and have all those 50 people, as I said before, as part of a community, a big Slack room or Discord where there's 50 agency owners all talking about clients and candidates and how they're winning new business and providing value to each other over and above just, XRecruiter supporting them, I think is an awesome goal that we're trying to achieve. And yeah, that's kind of what we're working towards at the moment.
And everyone wins. Hey, like that is just such a good feeling. Everyone wins. Like it's so easy in this world. Like I said at the start, is that where we're in a world where just starting is just the biggest challenge now, is because everyone's got a shiny light or something to look at, and they're being distracted by so many things. And yeah, I couldn't thank you enough for sharing that little piece of vision. And I just I can't wait to see the journey for yourselves, because you go from this momentum and this excitement and motivation of starting, and now it's about, yes, it's system, yes, it's process, but ultimately it's just like, I'm going to help 50 individuals do something that at some point they never thought they could do.
Yeah.
And we do it together. And that's so exciting. That's so exciting.
Should be really good. Exciting. I'll certainly keep you updated. That's for sure.
That's cool, man. Look, I always end on a couple of things. And one of them is that, self-development it means a lot of things to different people. But is there any books that you've recently read, or something that you've come across, or a quote where you've gone, that really hit me? Is there something that was obvious to you that come up?
You know what? The book that has always stuck with me, I read it when I was 16. I dropped out of school in grade 10 for failing school. I don't have a year 10 certificate. And I went and worked at a car yard selling window tint when I was like 16 years old. And my old manager, he got me onto this book. I hated reading. I've never read in my life up until now. And he got me to read a book called Who Moved My Cheese? Have you ever heard of it?
Never heard of it.
It's a very elementary book. It's an easy read. It's 90 pages. It's big text. There's a couple of pictures, I think. And it's about a human and a mouse in a maze. And the metaphor is a piece of cheese gets dropped in a maze, and every day the human and the mouse goes to the cheese. Should I tell you about the book or no?
Yeah, go for it, man. Yeah, I'm listening.
So the human and the mouse goes to the cheese and gets fed cheese in this one spot in the maze every single day for 6 months. Then what happens, one day they go to the same spot to get their cheese, and the cheese is no longer there. And what the mouse does is, within a split second, his instincts kick in and he goes, I need to keep finding that cheese, and go and just searching every corner of this maze to figure out where this next meal's coming from. The human, the lazy human, all they did was just jump up and down, complaining that the cheese is no longer there anymore. And what ended up happening was the mouse far outclassed the human, because they used their instincts of going, okay, cheese is no longer there. I'm going to now go after the next thing, or find the next meal, without even worrying about the past or my downfalls or my hindrances. And it wasn't until the human started to get skinny and sick and tired that they finally found the determination to eventually go and find the cheese. And then they ended up both finding the cheese together. But the mouse was obviously months ahead, and the human was malnourished and no good. And it just it hit me when I was 16, because I thought, yeah, why bother, being disappointed or sad with a negative outcome, or getting used to something that you've always been given, when you can just make it happen and go after and fix the solution, or find a better solution quickly thereafter, without kind of failure or someone changing the goalposts on you, or feeling like someone's pulled the rug from under you. It's like, you know what, who cares? Let's just keep moving on. So I think that was probably one of the best books I read. It actually is the book that got me into reading self-development books when I was like a young teenager, and I wasn't, into schoolwork and reading and all that kind of stuff. But Who Moved My Cheese, in short, Who Moved My Cheese is an awesome book, 90 pages. You can read it within a couple of hours. And when you put the book down, you're super pumped to find the next challenge, and not be that person jumping up and down, feeling sorry for themselves because, the things that they were blessed with one day are no longer there.
Yeah, because that's the beauty of it, is that what got you to where you're going. And just like this book, and just like your business, is that it's going to lead you to other places that you didn't know. But if you're not willing, and you're not able to look and pursue, and to look under, every rock, and look into every corner, you're just not going to find what potentially is there. And that's a beautiful metaphor with everything. It's just like, you can be the person to stand there and complain, or you can be the person where the instincts kick in and go, okay, well, standing here is not going to help me, so let's go do about it. I love that. Best ending to a podcast ever.
Good. All right. Well, I'm glad.
And thank you so much for your time, buddy. I do appreciate it. And for all our our guests that are listening, we love comments, and just like Blake and myself, we just love hearing from people and their feedback. And sometimes there's just a message that you learn in these conversations that really help you, and just catches you on the right day. So appreciate your time, man. I know you're very busy, and appreciate it. Until
Thanks,
next
Damien.
time.
Really appreciate it. Thank you. See you later.
Thank you so much for coming to today's episode. I always talk to people about my little journal, and this is the one I've got. It's not my first one, but it really is about your thoughts and actions become really important when you write them down. So don't forget to do those daily habits. They make all the difference. Please like and subscribe to all our channels. We are here to create and share content with you that helps you move forward in your journey as well, and we'd love to hear about your success stories.